LA This Week.
Financially rewarding communities that best address homelessness. It's one of the hallmarks of Mayor Eric Garcetti's State of the City speech, which also highlights gun control and recent crime reductions. I'm Gil Reyes with a story next.
I'm Anna Marco. City leaders want you to know you can now text as well as call in your emergencies to 911. More on that coming up.
I'm Rasha Goel. Up next, why the city is commemorating Transgender Day of Visibility.
Hello and welcome to LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Yana Kay. Mayor Eric Garcetti unveils an ambitious plan to place emergency homeless shelters citywide. And there's a payoff for council districts that play along. It's one of the highlights of his State of the City speech, which also covered new crime numbers. Gil Reyes has more.
A rock star entrance for LA Mayor Eric Garcetti at his 5th annual State of the City address. It was also his last with Chief Charlie Beck as head of the LAPD. Chief Beck, retiring this summer, could go out on a high note.
Last year, after 2 years of crime increases, crime was flat. And this year, it's going down. Burglary from cars, down more than 4%. Auto theft, down 12%.
The mayor says community policing, increased patrols, and strict city gun laws have also reduced homicides locally, as young people across the country demand tougher gun laws nationally.
In Los Angeles, we do what Washington can't seem to get done. We take guns away from dangerous people who have no business having them.
The LAPD began 2018 confiscating firearms from people with a history of felonies, domestic violence, and severe mental illness.
And I am pleased to announce that last Wednesday, our officers brought that list of prohibited gun owners in the city of Los Angeles down to 0.
Other city highlights are job creation and the growth of tech firms. But the crisis facing Los Angeles today remains homelessness. The mayor says building supportive housing is not enough. That's why he wants to reserve $20 million for temporary shelters and rewarding those council districts that accept shelters in their neighborhoods with additional cleaning crews and police services.
This is my commitment to you and the communities that you represent. If you have the courage to stand up a shelter in your district, you should get the resources and the reward to keep your neighborhoods clean.
He's putting his budget and his money where his mouth is to fix some of the problems, certainly highlighting the fact that crime is down, because we're nothing as a city if we're not safe.
And the question on a lot of people's minds is, will he or won't he be running for president in the year 2020? After recent visits to New Hampshire and Iowa, both early voting states, the mayor says he won't make an official decision on that until next year. At City Hall, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The mayor also mentioned the state of California's $6 billion surplus. He and other city mayors want a chunk of that money reserved for homeless housing. And one day after he delivered his address and labeled homelessness as the issue facing Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti signed 3 measures aimed at tackling the problem on multiple fronts. Anna Marcos has more.
Call it a triple whammy. City leaders have dealt not 1, not 2, but 3 mighty blows to the city's homeless problem. And Mayor Eric Garcetti has just signed all 3 into law.
You better believe that when there's a crisis, we get creative. I told one press outlet today it's kind of like sticking your foot on 3 accelerators all at the same time: street outreach, shelters, and permanent housing.
LA becomes the first California city to declare a homeless shelter crisis under a change in state laws that will free the city from some state regulations and building more emergency shelters. The city is also hiring more street outreach service workers.
And we're looking at every possible option to get encampments down now.
The crisis that we have to respond with the intensity that crisis faces us.
Another law, the Permanent Supportive Housing Ordinance, streamlines the approval process for developers who build housing for the homeless. Construction time goes down from about 5 years to less than a year.
I simply have to say this to the 20-some thousand people that are living unsheltered in our city tonight: hold on, we're coming for you. to every neighborhood that puts up with encampments and folks living in alleys and sewers and everywhere else, folks can hold on, we're finally coming for you.
The third law signed is the Motel Conversion Ordinance, which will ease requirements for motel owners who want to convert their units to emergency or supportive housing for the homeless.
There is a meantime. And in the meantime, we have to do everything we can to get people housing now and have people in neighborhoods throughout our city see fewer and fewer encampments.
Think about it. If you add a small kitchen to a motel room, you've got yourself a pretty good starter apartment, a place that reminds you that you're a human being.
The city has also voted on a plan to install trailers near El Pueblo to house the homeless. More trailers could soon pop up throughout LA. But city leaders know these are just stepping stones to their final goal of providing permanent housing for all LA's homeless people. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Among the requirements developers must meet to take advantage of the streamlined approval process is that there must be at least 120 units, and all units must be affordable, with at least half of them set aside for homeless residents. And boosting the effort to build more homeless housing has come in the form of 2 new city laws, which speed up housing construction and create a new form of temporary shelter. Anna Marcos has more.
Money, some city leaders say, is no longer the biggest hurdle in solving the homeless housing crunch. Measure HHH, approved by voters in 2016 to build more supportive housing, took care of that. So what is the biggest challenge?
The tools we need now are scissors to cut the red tape and battering rams to break through the roadblocks and sledgehammers to smash the resistance.
To that end, city leaders have approved 2 laws in city council that will get more of that Prop HHH money flowing quickly. One measure streamlines the planning and construction process and gets the supportive units built faster and cheaper.
And just a few blocks away from here, we have 2,000 people that sleep on the street every night in Skid Row that go unsheltered. The misery, the despair, and hopelessness that many of them suffer through on a nightly basis is truly heart-wrenching, and it must end.
But even the quicker construction will take a while. So a second proposal, the Motel Ordinance, will convert motels into temporary housing units with fewer permits.
Motels are infrastructure that already exists. They're often underutilized, and they could hold a key to creating housing right now for people.
Council District 8 city attorney has more motels than any district anywhere in the city. So we want you to drive around South LA, make friends with some motel owners, and hopefully we can begin the process to have some conversions in our part of the city and all parts of Los Angeles.
So what kind of a difference will these proposals make? Well, city leaders say, for example, a 60-unit supportive housing development could save them about $1 million due to a streamlined process and shorter construction times under these new laws. And then there's the difference the new laws will make to human beings.
The thing about permanent supportive housing is I didn't know anything about this world. And every time I needed to find something out about how to navigate the world, you know, there was somebody there who was paid to be there to tell me how to do it, you know. And that's the only reason I was succeeding, because I had somebody to go to.
So far, more than 1,200 units are in the works thanks to HHH money. But there's 10,000 more units to be built in the next 10 years. That means 10,000 more lives to be changed, and it can't come quickly enough. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell introduced 2 amendments to the bills. One helps protect cultural lands while still expediting the construction of new housing. The other amendment ensures motel modifications are still in line with city standards. The city is working closely with the transgender community to bridge the discrimination gap. Rasha Goel has more.
Just 2 weeks ago, I was walking down the street here downtown with my husband, hand in hand, and something happened to me that hadn't happened to me in 30 years. Somebody cried out, "Faggot." And it was jarring, because I hadn't heard that for quite a number of years. And it was a reminder, it was a wake-up call that we have a lot of work to do here as well as everywhere else.
City Controller Ron Galperin shared a personal story, citing it as an example of the LGBTQ ignorance that still exists. He was among those that attended the Transgender Day of Visibility, where activists were recognized for the impacts they have made in the transgender community. Shayla Demure, founder of the Unique Women's Coalition, an organization led by Black trans women, shared some inspiring words.
It is important to embrace differences, and once you get over thinking that there's so many differences, you realize that there's so many similarities. And we're all human, and we should be able to occupy space together.
Council members Mitch O'Farrell and Mike Bonin introduced a motion last year which addresses issues that are important to the trans community.
Today in council, we'll have a vote on that report, which is believed to be the first of its kind voted on by a major municipality anywhere in the country.
The Transgender Advisory Council was formed in 2016 to better help serve the needs of the transgender community. Member Hears tell me there are still many issues impacting transgender individuals.
How we treat our community and how we treat ourselves is with respect and just finding different ways to just make it better.
Discrimination, hate crimes, the issues. Also, employment is a big issue. Okay, shelters and housing is a big issue also for us, and also health care.
The message again, acceptance of one another.
You don't have to go through this on your own. You're not alone.
In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
City Council unanimously approved recommendations to address issues facing the transgender community. LA's 911 system just got a digital boost thanks to a push by Councilmember Paul Krikorian. As the city launches its Text 911 system, the new texting option may have already saved lives. Anna Marcos joins us from the 911 Dispatch Center with more. Anna.
Yana, help from the city's 911 emergency system is now just a touchscreen away. Residents can now text as well as dial in their 911 emergencies, which just gives more help out to more Angelenos.
Do you need a paramedic now?
This is 911 today, and this was 911 50 years ago when the emergency system first began. Anyone remember the old school switchboards? Or how about, yikes, finger dialing? But this is the 911 of the future, and it all starts with texting.
I think this is going to be, it's going to be a real lifesaver. There's people who are hearing impaired, people who are speech impaired, people who are in fear for their life if they make sound, people who are trying to conceal themselves from a gunman, for example.
911 texting is pretty new in LA, but it may have already saved lives. Before it had even been announced last year, dispatchers testing the system got a live text from a woman in trouble.
That person was trapped in another room and couldn't talk on the phone because her boyfriend was on the outside of the door with a gun and was ready to shoot her.
Dispatchers were able to alert officers who rushed to the home.
They made entry into the location and took the person into custody.
So they saved her.
We believe that that was a life that was saved, yeah.
Since then, Text 911 has fielded some 12,000 texts. It was Councilmember Paul Krikorian who first introduced a motion 3 years ago to launch 911 texting. And he says the future promises picture texting, mapping, and more.
If somebody, for example, could take a photograph of a potential suspect, text that as well. There's mapping options that could be involved. There's any number of uses.
In the meantime, the calls and the texts keep coming. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The entire county of LA now uses the 911 text system, making it the largest metro area in the country to do so. An iconic museum is finally under construction. Rasha Goel has more on this museum that will explore the power of visual storytelling.
Finally!
We are home. Thank you, Los Angeles.
The force was strong as Star Wars creator George Lucas and his wife Melody Hobson joined city officials to break ground for the Lucas Museum of Narrative Arts in Exposition Park. Their hope is to inspire a future generation of creatives.
I believe in all kinds of art, and I believe all kinds of art have a right to exist. And I think it's important to have a museum that I used to jokingly say supports all the orphaned arts that nobody else wants to see, but everybody loves. So that's my dream for this.
We picked Exposition Park because we wanted a museum campus. And George talked again and again about the fact that he wanted a child to have choices when they went to visit a museum and be able to visit the great museums that are here already that stand for unbelievable great education and have become great institutions in their own right was something that we thought was very, very attractive.
Museum board member and filmmaker Steven Spielberg also showed his support. Lucas and Hobson have privately funded the project with a gift of over $1 billion. Beijing-based architect Ma Young-song has designed the modern spaceshipy building and 11 acres of new park and garden space.
We want to create something that interests a lot of young people, students, local community. So we want to kind of design a building very inspiring, very, making people curious what's inside.
The nonprofit museum's 5 levels of approximately 300,000 square feet will highlight gallery space and hundreds of fine and popular art pieces. Work in photography and cinematic art, and not only from Star Wars, will also be showcased. The facility will feature 2 state-of-the-art movie theaters, restaurants, digital and editing classrooms, and a free library.
Art exists to inspire, to touch, to educate, to excite. And as the capital of the entertainment industry, but I would argue the creative capital of the world, with the greatest world-class museums anywhere, here we have a chance to seize that and say it's not just for a few, it is for everyone.
Placing the museum in South Los Angeles aims to fulfill the goal of inspiring, engaging, and educating a broad and diverse visitorship.
The investment is going to strengthen the arts education to an underserved community. I grew up in the 9th District where projects like the Lucas Museum, the LA Football Soccer Stadium were unimaginable. Unimaginable. Today, they're putting us on the map and allowing us to rise to our full potential.
And who knows, perhaps the museum may help inspire the making of another George Lucas or Steven Spielberg. Now, the museum has already begun construction and is anticipated to open in late 2021. In Exposition Park, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The Lucases settled on LA for the site of their museum 14 months ago after considering the cities of Chicago and San Francisco. LA's biggest science fair is in full swing. People are participating in workshops with topics ranging from marine conservation to the art of beer making. Gil Reyes reports from one kid-friendly event where the future of our city is highlighted.
Today they're students, tomorrow they're scientists, but only if given the tools, says TV's resident expert Bill Nye, the science guy.
Providing them with what they need is not only a great responsibility, I view it as a great opportunity. An opportunity for all of us to, dare I say it, change the world.
One opportunity takes place through the month of April. It's called City of STEM, a hands-on festival of science, technology, engineering, and math programs at various locations throughout Los Angeles, including here at City Hall. Mayor Eric Garcetti mentions another opportunity, his LA Tech Talent Pipeline.
We took job training dollars that we get from the federal government, and in partnership with the Bixel Exchange, our youth source centers, and nearly 40 partners from SNAP to the Dollar Shave Club, we've placed more than 100 young Angelinos in tech internships. And I'm not talking about like get the coffee kind of internships, but real skills that can lead to real jobs.
Jobs in agriculture, information technology, electric vehicle, and spacecraft manufacturing. The sky, or dare we say, the heavens are the limit in the City of Angels.
We can lead the world in the innovations and technologies that people everywhere will soon need. Our economy will grow, and our students will leave the world better than they found it. So get to work, people.
At City Hall, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The biggest of all STEM events will be happening Saturday, April 28th at the Columbia Memorial Space Center in Downey. Kids of all ages are welcome, and it's free. For a full listing of events, log on to cityofstem.org. City leaders are one step closer to regulating street vendors. A new traffic signal gets the green light in Council District 1, and improvements are coming to South Park Rec Center. All these stories in Citybeat. The LA City Council moved forward with a proposed sidewalk vending ordinance, but rejected a provision that would have given nearby brick-and-mortar business owners the power to veto vendor licenses. The business veto had been strongly opposed by many vendors. Instead of the veto power, the Economic Development Committee moved forward with a plan that would establish a formal hearing process, allowing adjacent property owners to voice concerns and submit appeals to proposed sidewalk vendors based on health and safety issues. The proposed ordinance would create a sidewalk vending ordinance program that would fully regulate the new industry. The regulations would limit many blocks to 2 vendors, but would allow for the creation of special vending zones where more would be allowed. Councilmember Gil Cedillo continues to improve public safety in Council District 1 with the activation of a full traffic signal along Temple Street. Temple Street has been identified as a high-injury network street, which has a high concentration of traffic collisions. In support of the mayor's Vision Zero initiative, which brings together transportation engineers, police officers, advocates, and policymakers to work towards creating safer streets, this is the latest safety improvement at the council members' request.
We're making sure that with this new crosswalk that we maximize the safety for young boys and girls as they go to school, as they walk to the park, as they walk through their neighborhood, that we can control the traffic.
The Department of Rec and Parks, along with Councilmember Curran Price, the City of LA's Department of Public Works Bureau of Engineering, broke ground of the historic South Park Recreation Center Park. The renovation of the historic east area of the park is part of the master plan that will restore one of the city's oldest parks. This 19-acre park currently serves 21,000 residents living within a half-mile walking distance and provides an array of recreational programs. Improvements include the restoration of the historic Palm Walkway with new paving, picnic tables and benches, new walkways, turf play area, outdoor fitness equipment, smart irrigation system, and more. The project is expected to be completed in spring of 2019. Better basketball courts for kids to play in? You bet. As the LA Clippers give the city a multi-million-dollar gift to renovate crumbling structures. Anna Marcos joins us from the Jim Gilliam Rec Center with more. Anna.
Nobody is more excited about the plan to renovate all of LA's city basketball courts than the LA Clippers mascot, Chuck the Condor. Well, except for maybe the LA Clippers owner himself, Steve Ballmer, who apparently loves basketball and kids.
Every kid who gets fired up about basketball gets me fired up, so I'm just incredibly excited to see kids out there hooping.
Clippers owners are donating $10 million to give all 344 basketball courts in LA's Department of Recreation and Parks a little rehab, including new floors, scoreboards, basketball rims, and more.
For them, it's not about just winning or losing, it's about contributing to our community.
The kids look pretty excited too. I mean, come on, playing with Clippers guard Lou Williams is a dream come true for any hoopster.
I shook Lou Williams' hands. He even said he's gonna break Patty Mills' ankles. I feel good about it. I just feel like it's a blessing for the Clippers to come over here out of all places.
That Chuck sure gets into everything. He attempts a few hoops here, as does Mayor Eric Garcetti. But Mayor, you gotta be careful when you pick on the young whippersnappers.
I beat him, so it didn't really matter. It was fun though.
Thanks to efforts by the mayor and First Lady of LA, the number of girls playing sports has increased in the last several years from 22 to 45%. Now, as the city gears up for the 2028 Olympics and Paralympics in LA, Mayor Garcetti wants to get even more kids involved in sports.
I didn't want to just bring the Olympics and the Paralympics here home to Los Angeles. I wanted to make sure that every young Angelino had a place on the field and on the court.
And for those young Angelenos back there, they can set their sights to 2028, when they might win a gold medal in their own backyard.
But for many, this is about more than just the sport.
These experiences build self-esteem, confidence, leadership, cooperation, fair play, and friendship.
I played my very first basketball game in a community center. I had a coach in my neighborhood that took a liking to me. I was a troubled youth, and on weekends he would come get me from 3 o'clock from when school was out. I was with him from 3 o'clock when school was out to Monday morning at 7 a.m. to make sure I stayed out of trouble.
Who knows, maybe one of these kids is a Lou Williams in the making, or even a future 2028 Olympic medalist. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The program Girls Play LA is the initiative that's driven more girls to take part in City of LA sports programs. Well, give back to your community during a tree planting, enjoy a book fair for the kids, and get a taste of the unique flavors of LA's East Side. All this in this week's Things to Do. Roll up your sleeves and grab a shovel, Angelenos. Councilmember Paul Krikorian, city plans, and other city departments and partners invite you to a day of climate and community action. Come for the tree planting, stay for the environmental resource fair and celebration. This year, 150 trees will be planted near the Victory and Vineland Recreation Center. Following the tree planting, city plants and partners will host a community fair with food, music, hands-on educational exhibits, and family-friendly activities. For more info, visit cityplants.org or call 213-473-9950. The event takes place Saturday, April 28th from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Councilmember Gil Cedillo and CD1 partners are proud to bring you the Day of the Child and Little Book Festival, an event to celebrate children and child literacy filled with food, raffles, face painting, circus, art show, and books, all absolutely free to the community. The fun takes place on Sunday, April 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Levitt Pavilion located at MacArthur Park, 2230 West 6th Street. Taste of the East Side is an annual one-day outdoor food and drink festival hosted at the historic Los Angeles River Center and Gardens. Set in this lush, historic architectural gem, the event is a celebration of the evolving and diverse cuisine of one of LA's most distinct and compelling regions. Through tastings, demonstrations, and family events, Taste of the East Side highlights not only the great food available at the many diverse eateries in this region, but also a drive towards sustainable practices and healthy lifestyles for families and communities. Absolutely all proceeds from the event go to benefit local nonprofit organizations. The event takes place at the Los Angeles River Center and Gardens, located at 570 West Avenue 26. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.